Aloha and welcome to the video. So in this video I'm going to be making a Hawaiian styled Bowie knife. But it's not just going to be any Bowie knife, it's going to be the one that was inspired off of the Crocodile Dundee knife. That's not a knife. I wanted to make one of these for a while. I got an interesting comment on this. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll likely see pretty much every piece that I make before the video comes out on it. But I posted this video and the comment that I got, one of the comments that I got on it was, is this knife functional? And I kind of laughed because, I mean, it is and it isn't. It depends on, what function are you going to use it for. It doesn't make for a very good cutting knife, but you can cut some stuff with it. So the first step here is I'm making the handle material. The Bowie knife, at least a lot of Bowie knives that I was looking at, but specifically the one from the movie, it will look like it had multiple components to it. And so I'm grabbing different grades of curly coil wood. I have some lighter grades, some darker grades, and then I'm kind of mixing up the pattern on how I'm gluing it together. I realized though, as I went to glue it, I needed something to kind of hold it in place. And so that's what I'm using this little piece of scrap wood for, is a backing. And that way it'll push up against that and they won't slide around too much. But the glue up on it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty easy glue up. I was nervous though that I wouldn't get a clean glue up, that the pieces would break apart. And so after I cut it out, I kind of whacked on the cutoffs to see if they were solid, and sure enough, all of them were pretty good glue up. So that worked out great. I was kind of worried about that. I didn't want the handle piece to be have a brittle section to it. Now that I have it all glued up and ready to go, I can start sketching in the handle. I ended up making the handle a little bit too large. Well, it wasn't too large. It was proportional to the size of the blade, but I made a mistake on the blade and I ended up needing to shrink the blade, but I couldn't shrink the handle because each segment of the handle material mirrored the thickness of the opposing segment on the other side. And so if I shrunk it down by the amount that I would need to, the whole handle material would look off center, and I didn't want that to happen. The shaping on it's pretty simple, so I'm just going to be doing some basic shaping with my angle grinder here. I usually use a 56 grit sanding disc, but I'm not particular to what grit I have, just a rough grit, any that I have available. And then once I have this roughed out, I can start working on the blade. I'm actually going to pause working on the handle until I finish the blade. This is where I made a mistake. My blade material is this piece of curly koa. It's a beautiful piece of koa. It was plenty long, but my plan is to do like a tongue and groove, or a mortise and tenon joint. Sorry, not a tongue and groove. So similar to how like a regular blade would have a tang, and that tang slots into the handle, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I wasn't thinking. And I cut the blade. So I drew the blade out and I cut it down to size, which is that spare piece. And then I realized I cut off my tang. And so here I have to shorten the piece so that it'll fit the tang. As a result, the handle is just a bit too large proportionate wise to the blade, but it ended up looking just fine. And so it wasn't too bad of a deal. But so going forward, I'll be cutting out the groove section, or the tang for the blade, shaping the blade, and getting it ready to set with the handle piece. Now I wanted to add a little bit more contrast to the blade. It is a beautiful curl on the blade, but it's a lighter koa, and the curl is a lighter koa as well. I thought it'd be kind of cool to burn the edges, almost to make it look like similar to like a pattern or sanmai style steel. So it's wood, but it'll kind of have that look of a piece to it. At least I thought it would. It ended up looking pretty cool at the end. I was pleased with how it turned out, but that was the idea. Now I was excited to oil this piece almost the entire time just because of all the contrasting colors. Not just in the coal wood, but I also put in a black pearl inlay on both sides of the handle, and then obviously the burnt edges, which add that dark look to it. And man, does that look awesome. I love how this is turning out. Turning out so much better than I was imagining it would. I did also consider not lashing the teeth, but I did want to test with the piece later, and if I don't lash the teeth, there's a good chance that the epoxy that they're held in there with won't hold. The epoxy doesn't really hold for stuff like that very well, at least not that I've noticed. The lashing is really the primary securing method. And so the last step before I can finish and test with the piece is going to be lashing. And it's just a lash on the handle, or not on the handle, on the teeth, so it's a pretty simple endeavor. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the piece. I really like the way that it turned out. I think it's pretty awesome. Maybe Crocodile Dundee would too. Definitely a cooler looking knife. Little combination of styles and cultures. Well, mahalo nui for everyone that follows along, and I'll see you in the next video. Aloha.